Okay, so this is our third recording in this series of Indian mounds. So we are now in the city of Newtown, or actually I think it's a village, and there is a difference there. It all has to do with charters and such. So the village of Newtown, this is the Oddfellows Cemetery. So if you're not familiar with the Oddfellows, they were formed, I want to say, early 1800s, Baltimore, Maryland, and they are very similar to the Freemasons. They both came from working men's guilds at some point, but their end goals are a little bit different. So this cemetery is created specifically for their people, although I'm sure that there are others that are non-Oddfellows that are now buried here. And this is still an active cemetery, so there are still people being buried here to this day. The one thing they try not to do, though, is interfere with the mound that you see behind me. Again, trees are grown naturally there. There has been no excavation in this mound at all. So this mound, again, is elliptical. So it's conical, so it's a cone shape, but the base of it is elliptical. It is 110 feet long and 90 feet wide, and the height is 13.3 feet tall. So a little bit shorter than our previous video about the Norwood mound, and a little bit smaller at the base, but almost the same. So this was part of an earthworks, a huge group of earthworks that ran all the way up and down the Little Miami River, which is behind my cameraman here, is the Little Miami River. So you've got Marymount over this way. I've mentioned Marymount in a previous video, a big Indian area. You got Milford up that way, and Milford has like an entire city, an entire complex of earthworks. So is there a difference between an earthwork and a mound? Yeah, so a mound is a burial site. Not always. Sometimes they're used to elevate something like a temple or an observatory of some sort. Earthworks can do all kinds of different things. Sometimes they're used as defensive fortification. Sometimes they're used for entertainment, for people to sit up on and for entertainment purposes. Again, sometimes to put buildings on top of. Some of them, like the Serpent Mound, and we will be bringing that to you at some point in the future. So it's in the shape of a big snake, and every bend of that snake leaves you with straightaways. And those straightaways, if you draw a line across there, you'll find that you're looking at like the rising of the sun and the setting of the sun on like the vernal equinox and the autumnal equinox and the summer solstice and so on. So it was actually, there's no one buried in it. It's just something that was created as an astronomical observatory. So in this case, this is a burial mound. Like I said, it has not been excavated at all. There were a lot of things that over centuries, because again, this is Adena period, so this is 500 BC to 100 AD. And so this was just eroded. Hard telling how big this thing was initially. So anything that was on the ground when people first built the cemetery that was an artifact that could be kept, those have all been put in the Museum of Natural History, which is in the old train station downtown, the Union Terminal. That's where they've moved the Museum of Natural History to. So those are all on display there. So at any rate, there should be another one here. I've never actually seen the other one. I'm going to see if I can find it, though. There should be another mound in this cemetery. And then there's the Perrin site, P-E-R-I-N, which should be over that way a little ways. Now, the Perrin site is actually a takeover by the Hopewell that came after the Adena. So after the Adena did whatever, whether they died off or they moved to a different part of the country, it's hard to say. So the Hopewell continued to build on this existing structure, these earthworks up and down the Little Miami River here. And the thing that makes it interesting, adding the Hopewell into the mix, is they had such a good trade route going, up and down the Little Miami to the Ohio and the Ohio to the Mississippi and so on. So you've got artifacts from other ancient sites in like Louisiana and Florida and places of that sort, where those people needed things that came from north of here up along the Great Lakes and so on. So they would trade back and forth. And so you know that the Hopewell were involved because you see a lot of those trade goods. And so to better define Hopewell, let me just say this as well. The Hopewell, their center of progress was basically Ohio, very eastern edge of Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, and part of western Pennsylvania. So really what's known as the Ohio River Valley, although the Ohio River doesn't take up more than a small fraction of that area. So that's the Hopewell area. So once again, the Oddfellow Cemetery in Newtown, Ohio, which is an eastern suburb along the Little Miami River. And this is Mound, what they call Mound number 1, a burial mound.